That was my backup. Sorry, Paul Anka, but you're very good. You know this, the White House is in trouble when it comes down to Kamala to save them. The vice president trying to reassure the world that her 81-year-old boss, Joe Biden, has what it takes to be leader of the free world for 4 more years, despite mounting concerns over his age.
There's a lot of people would say she can't say anything else. She couldn't tell if there was a problem.
I'm not lying.
If there was,
but I'm telling you a fact.
But if there ever is a problem,
yeah.
Do you think that you could go tell the American public? Do you think in your role that you're in a position to do that?
Of course, if necessary, but there's no need for that.
Well, that's reassuring, do you think? Just about an hour later, President Biden stepping all over Kamala's comments by cracking this joke, which doesn't seem to be very funny, about the nuclear football.
Now, look, my Marine carries that. It has a code to blow up the world. That doesn't, this is not nuclear weapons, is it? All right, okay.
And while Joe Biden jokes about Armageddon, Kamala is also not proving herself to be ready to step into the job as presidency. The Veep having some serious trouble answering a simple question.
What should happen to TikTok?
Well, I'll step back for a moment and say that one of the things that should keep all of us up at night is the level of mis and disinformation.
You don't have a specific view on TikTok itself?
I'm not commenting on it.
Are you on TikTok yourself?
I'm not.
Are you not like a voyeur?
But many of the young people in my family are, I'll tell you that.
And you tell them to get off?
You know, you can tell young people in your family all kinds of things to do.
So, Dana, that wasn't a yes or no. What would have been the right answer on that?
Well, I think it's hard to want to be the leader of the free world and have no comment on something as consequential as TikTok. I do think that what she said at the end about trying to tell young people that was relatable.
Human?
Yes, relatable, and I thought that was very good. She's always going to be asked, is Joe Biden too old? She needs a better answer. She needs to have something along the lines of, ignore the haters, he's on top of it, and move on and drive on to something else. One of the things that she said was about this was the question about his age. And she says, it is important we not be seduced into one of the only arguments that side of the aisle has right now on this issue in a way that is intended to distract from the accomplishments. I don't understand. There's nothing that you can land on that. And so I thought it was fine for her. I don't know if that answers the mail for their serious polling deficit that they have right now. She'll be out there campaigning on voting rights, as well as misinformation. You heard it there. And also, they're going to try to make this election a choice between Biden and whoever the Republican nominee is. And if it is Trump, the whole thing that's going to come down to is, do you want stability with a guy that, yes, we know he's 81. Do you want stability, or do you want chaos? And that's going to be the choice that they try to have Americans make, rather than saying, do you want another 4 years of the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris presidency? So what you, Katie, just reminded me when she just broke into misinformation. She told her right before she goes on stage, make these points. So regardless of, they forgot to tell her, you also should listen to the question and see if it's appropriate. They didn't probably finish the briefing. But if you ask Vivek Ramaswamy or Senator Rubio goes, ban TikTok. Vivek says you can't, that's how you get the young people. Those are two candidates, those people ran for president, you know exactly where they stood. Is there a harm in saying and making a decision there?
Well, first, the question about whether she would tell the American people if something were wrong. The American people can watch and see the president and his decline, which is why Democrats are worried about his age. They can see for themselves. They don't need the vice president to tell them what is or what is not happening with him if there were to be something wrong. On the TikTok issue, they clearly believe this is a national security threat because it is banned on federal government devices. A number of governors have banned it from government devices across the country. So they acknowledge it's a threat, but they are not willing to acknowledge that threat when it comes to the political side that TikTok affords them, because they are using it for young people. And not only using it, but working with influencers on a number of different projects that they're trying to push out, whether it's on healthcare or inflation. They watch it very closely to see what the young people are talking about, and they're worried about not getting those voters. So they're willing to use it as a political tool despite it being a national security problem, while they at the same time acknowledge that it should be banned for federal government employees.
So, Jesse, one thing she did, they used the Ron Klain quote saying that she's getting a hard time, her ratings are low because she's a woman and she's a woman of color. And she says, yes, because of the media. In fact, I have the sound that says very similar to what I said. Watch.
Ron Klain says this, and you've seen press about yourself over the years. He says that he believes that your popularity or unpopularity or whatever rating you want to put it as is a function of sexism and racism. He says that's part of the problem. He says she doesn't get the credit for all that she's done. Do you think that's true?
Well, are we talking about the media or people? As it relates to the media, I'm sure some of that is true.
Well, it's true. I don't get the credit I deserve because I'm a straight white male, and it's bothered me for my entire life, Brian. I can't believe...
You don't get the credit you deserve.
I'm still a rising star.
Right, I understand.
Do you remember when she was asked by the media, if the president's brain dead, you promise you'll tell us, or are you going to keep it a secret? And she goes, no, I'll tell you if he's brain dead. Think about that. I mean, this is crazy we're having this conversation.
That's a Dukakis moment.
And then the TikTok thing, I'll answer it, and I'm not even a politician. You say my administration is engaged in very delicate and consequential negotiations with the Chinese. These involve a lot of national security issues when it comes to cybersecurity, election security. I don't want to get ahead of the president on this issue, but we'll have more for you in the next month. Instead, she says no. Instead, she's like, "I plead the fifth."
No comment.
It's so stupid, Brian.
Right, and she also was asked the question about her checking boxes. You were picked because you're a woman of color, and that's something that still lingers. She said, "I don't understand the question." Harold, this is directed towards you. Please pay attention.
I'm still writing down. I thought that was an incredible response that you laid out for her to be able to give about how the administration. That was very good.
You know, I really should run. Maybe this is the ticket.
So
Ford Waters.
So Dana led this right. I don't understand how when the vice president is in these incredibly important settings, and Andrew Sorkin is a serious journalist, and I thought had a great conference yesterday, you had to anticipate some of these questions, including what are you doing? How do you think about the president's ability to stand? How do you not say unemployment is down, and inflation's coming down, gas prices are down, investment in America is up, we're building chips that go into refrigerators and cars and laptops. We're finding ways to build prescription drugs in America so we're not reliant anywhere else in the world but here. More Americans have health insurance, and women know that they have a right to an abortion if Joe Biden's in office. That's what we are. But Dana, these are the things to your point.
It's
you
perfect.
said it.
I mean, I know
Dana,
it's not that hard.
But Dana, I don't know how.
Brilliant.
I don't know how. No, but you laid out the predicate for it. This is what they should be saying. Two, she's smart and she's talented, but she does not have a lot to show for it as we stand here now almost 3 years after they've been, or more than 3 years after they've been in office. I don't understand why you don't go to the border. I don't understand why you don't. Why she was one of the great attorney generals the country has seen in California. How you don't get on this crime issue. She was criticized because they thought she was too tough on crime somewhere. How you don't get on the crime issue. We talked about it. You talked about Dallas having a great police chief and a mayor now. I think the mayor, you've had him on your show, switch parties. Democrat to Republican because he wanted to fight crime in a different way. Talk about that as one of the great best practices in the country and talk about how we can take that national. And finally, on that issue of TikTok, I said, after saying Jesse's point, so, you know, I'm the mother, and I'm a father of a young daughter, but I'm the mother of young women. We've got to figure out what's happening with these algorithms, introducing and perhaps trying to habituate young women to bad habits and bad practices. That's going to be my next task, Andrew, that I'm going to take up, and we're going to get on this before the election and put forward proposals for the country to chew on. This is not hard.
But it is.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, I just want to answer it.
Yes,
the problem is being tough on crime is not good for Democrats.
No,
they don't want to hear it.
I'm a Democrat, and yes.
I think
I disagree with you,
No,
Brian.
but they don't want to say it. If he's tough on crime, they're going to go back to
If they would say it, they would do better, and their poll numbers would go up because people say that's their second number one. Their second
I would love for him to say it.
concerning issue.
I'm with you, Dan.
But I also wanted to mention this. She was asked, do you think Israel is following the rules of war? That is our closest ally. Here's another reason why they're going to have problems. She says, well, there are many rules of war. There's only one answer to that question, and the answer is yes. And President Biden supports the Israelis and in their mission to destroy Hamas, and she didn't say it.
Right. I also think it would be great for Democrats to crack down on the border, but they don't want to talk about the border. They don't want to talk about crime Because for
Well, some Democrats
reason,
do, but
I
I
wish
just-
they could.
Some
I
Democrats
wish they would. It'd be better for the country.
I agree.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.